right, subs in. All right. Sledding doesn't work good.
Intro failed.
Yeah, that intro failed.
What's up, you guys? Today's video is all about filters.
Filters.
We get a lot of questions about how to use them, when to use them, and what purpose they serve. So we're gonna run around and shoot and tell you all about them.
Yeah, under certain lighting conditions, such as today, filters can definitely add to your photography and filmmaking. You don't always need them, but when you do, they come really in handy and make your image look that much better. So let's go explain to you what each one does.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, so right before we get started today, we are gonna be shooting on phones today, and all the filters we'll be putting on moment lenses, but all the same practices apply with DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. We're just gonna be talking about the filters. For moment gear, we make a filter mount that mounts any 62mm filter thread, so you can use step-up rings if you have a larger filter, or 62 threaded filters. So, phone time.
All right, so first we are going to talk about UV filters. You've probably heard of a UV filter. They're definitely the most commonly known. They're the filters that when you go to the camera store and you buy a new lens, they'll usually sell you a UV. And most photographers actually keep their UV filters on all the time. You sometimes won't even see a difference in your images, but the UV filters really do serve a purpose. They protect your lens from things like scratches and dust. An easy way to think of UV filters actually is to think of it like sunscreen for your lens. It will filter out any really harsh UV light and UV haze, especially in higher altitudes and higher elevations. So if you find yourself shooting in conditions like that, then the UV filter is definitely going to help you out. So you can see, unlike like a CPL filter that's pretty dark, it's a clear filter. And one more thing to note, quality of the glass on a UV filter is actually very important, especially if you're shooting on a really nice lens, because if you use like a crappy cheap filter, it will degrade your image quite a bit. We highly suggest these Hoya filters. These are the ones we sell in our shop. They're very high quality and they really will get the job done. I like this windy.
How's it looking?
It's looking UV'd.
Cool. Didn't know that was a verb. All right, next filter we're gonna talk about is the ND filter. This stands for neutral density filter, and basically it's like sunglasses for your camera. The ND filters we sell come in 6 stops, there's 3 stops, and there's a variable ND filter. They essentially all do the same thing. They're just blocking the amount of light that comes into your image. So for filmmakers like myself, ND filters are a must when you're shooting outdoors in this crazy bright sunlight, because you can control your shutter speed. And what that helps with is the motion blur. So like when someone's walking by, there's a lot of action. If you have your shutter speed cranked, say in the moment app, you have it just cranked up because it's so bright out, you'll have that choppy look. With an ND filter on, you double your shutter speed to your frame rate, and it's nice and smooth. So it gives you a more cinematic look just because you're able to control this. All right, and this is with ND off. Here's my hand, moving and spinning. Probably looks a lot less fluid because the shutter speed is at like 1/1700, something really high. Woo! All right, ND's back on. Look at my hand now. Whoa, you can totally say high five. Look at the motion blur. All right, so that is with ND back on now. Boom, you get actual motion blur versus when it's off, it was all choppy. I think it's a good example. I think people get the point now. ND blocks light, helps you adjust exposure. And for photographers, it's super fun if you have a tripod and you want to set this up for a long exposure or like a really cool smooth time lapse in midday. So basically, it's almost like your phone thinks it's nighttime. With this filter though, you are gonna need to use the Moment app so that you can control the shutter speed and ISO independently. If you throw this on and you just use the native app, it's gonna think it's nighttime and bump the ISO so much that it looks grainy, and you're gonna say, why did I just spend this much money on this filter? So essentially get the Moment app, you're able to control everything, turn your ISO all the way down, and then control your shutter speed. It's a great filter, and any day like this that's sunny, I'm always using this. Couple more points. So you might ask yourself, which ND filter do I need? And that kind of comes down to preference / where you live and where you shoot most. The 6-stop ND is what I always recommend for people that are gonna shoot outdoors a lot, always sunny. You live in California like Niles. I would go with the 6-stop personally. We sell a 3-stop ND as well. And this one's perfect for those gloomy days because 6 stops is a little too much and you don't wanna crank the ISO up even when you're outside. So here's the 3-stop and here's the 6-stop. You can stack these filters, but sometimes when you stack them too much on a wide lens like the wide, you will get a little bit of dark cornering just because you're literally making the distance of the width wider, and so that like the edge of the filter is farther out on the edge of the frame. So it's up to you. You can crop it in, but the quality will stay the same and you're just getting even darker. So you wanna shoot the next solar eclipse? Stack these bad boys. All right, and the last version of ND filter that we sell is a variable ND. And this, for filmmakers, look, it looks kind of big, I know. It's 77 millimeter, but there's a reason to that. Variable NDs are interesting because they're essentially like 2 NDs stacked on top of each other, and you twist the outside for the amount. So you can go from a minimum to a maximum depending on your light. And actually, this is more ideal for filmmaking because every time you go and switch lighting conditions, you can then, all you do is twist this a little bit. You have your shutter speed locked in, you have all of the settings locked in, and then you just adjust the filter, which is ideal. However, variable NDs, the quality is tricky because that's why this one is quite expensive because we tested a bunch of them and this is the best one without losing quality. Some of them will haze, some of them will have like weird soft edges, especially on the phone. So this one by Hoya, it's the Solaris Variable NDX. It's 77 millimeters, so you're getting a nice wide like ND filter area so that you don't have any weird image degradation. So I use this one a lot when I know the lighting will be a lot different and I know a lot of my scenes will go from, you know, maybe I'm shooting the entire day, but usually I just have the 6-stop as my go-to. But this one is great, it's a little bit bigger, so you might get a couple more funny looks. But other than that, great filters, NDs are a must. All right, we're gonna do a with and without filter test of Taylor walking through this. So the first shot is with the filter. Notice the motion blur going past these pipes and kind of on her as she moves. It will look smooth, and then we'll take it off, do without, and it will look a little more choppy. All right, took the filter off, and now the shutter speed to get proper exposure is at 1/1534. Check out the difference. Nice. Nice and choppy. See that? Look how like, there's no motion blur on my hand at all. There's no motion blur on the hand. But, oh well. That's why I use NDs.
Okay, so the next filter we are going to talk about is the CPL filter. CPL stands for Circular Polarizing Lens. The main purpose of this filter is to remove any unwanted reflections or glares in your image. It's really great for shooting like into water or water with really harsh sun glares on it. Really great for car photography. This filter is actually a 2-element design, so you can twist the outer ring of the filter, and that's exactly how you use this. By rotating it, it actually moves where the glare is. It's kind of a crazy design. It's a crazy concept. It's a little bit like magic, but it's great for shooting outdoors, basically a necessity. Yeah. Magical filter. It also is really good for car photography. I haven't got really into car photography, but usually like on classic cars or whatever, the light hits the paint really nicely, and how the light hits it, the line's weird, but you're like, I wish I could move that light, but I like my framing. Literally a CPL will turn that and make the whole thing like flat and look kind of money. Money, money. This is honestly a perfect day to show how filters can be used well because it's so harsh out here that any extra help helps. And again, to emphasize all these same practices and ideas, it works for a DSLR or mirrorless camera or a film camera. We're just using it on the phone today because that's what we do. Okay, I'm gonna do these glares.
Sketch. Whoa.
So just by a simple twist, right now we're basically seeing the surface of the water come in on the rocks, and then just by twisting it, we can see straight down to the bottom rocks right through the water. That is wild. Wow.
All right, we're freezing out here, but that's gonna wrap things up.
We know that there can be a lot of confusion surrounding filters, so we hope that this video kind of helped clear some of that up for you.
Yeah, if you do have any more questions, leave a comment in this video. Or yeah, I mean, honestly, it just kind of comes down to experimenting for yourself, what filters work for you. But I would highly suggest, if you are gonna shoot video a lot, get an ND filter. Sure. And other than that, yeah, your camera and your lens will still work awesome without filters, so don't get hung up on the fact that you necessarily need one. But if you find yourself shooting in a lot of conditions that are wacky, they really do help when you know how to use them.
Yeah, they come in clutch when used properly. So, happy shooting.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss you, Niles.